Hello, and welcome to the kitchen. My name is Katie, and I'm a dietetic intern with Seattle Pacific University, working with the Lynnwood Food Bank. Join me for some recipes and nutrition tips. Today, I'm going to be preparing roasted Brussels sprouts. This is a super easy and delicious vegetable side dish. Brussels sprouts are in season from September through March, so this is a great choice for your winter feast. Brussels sprouts are high in fiber. They're also high in vitamin A, which is important for your night sight, vitamin K, which is important for blood clotting, and vitamin C, which is important for immunity. They're also a source of minerals iron, magnesium, and calcium. So what are we going to need to get started with this recipe? First, I have here my Brussels sprouts still on the stalk. I have some black pepper, salt. I have here a Himalayan pink rock salt, but you can use any kind of salt you have at home. Iodized table salt, sea salt, it's totally up to you. I have here some olive oil, and I also have some balsamic vinegar. Kitchen equipment, I have an oven, some kind of heat source. I have a baking pan. You could also use a Pyrex dish or a skillet that can go into the oven. I have a cutting board and a knife. And I have a bowl here that I'm going to use to mix up the Brussels sprouts with the oil, but you could definitely do that in the pan as well. All right, let's get started. I have my Brussels sprouts still on the stalk. The stalk provides the sprouts with additional nutrients and moisture, so it keeps them fresh for longer. You can also eat the stalk, but it takes a much longer cooking time because it's very fibrous and woody. You could also roast the sprouts directly on the stalk, but make sure to turn it in the oven periodically so that it roasts evenly. I'm going to be pulling each of the sprouts off of the stalk, coating them with oil, and roasting them as individual sprouts so that when I pull them out of the oven, they're ready to eat. You can do this by either pulling the sprouts off by pulling them backwards, like this. They snap off. Or you could use a chef knife and cut against the stem and cut them off this way. So I'm going to be removing about half of these sprouts from the stem, and then I'm going to put them into my clean bowl to coat them with oil and salt. So I have collected here all of the Brussels sprouts that I'm going to be roasting tonight. Mine are pretty variable in size. If you get pre-harvested ones, they'll probably be more uniform in size. And there's two things I want to say about those. One, pre-harvested ones, the bottom part of the stem is likely turning a little yellow-brown, and that's something you're going to want to trim off just by cutting it with a knife. There will also likely be some loose leaves on the outer edges that look a little worn, and you're just going to want to pull those off. So I have this bigger piece here. I'm just going to demonstrate. With larger Brussels sprouts, you may want to also cut them in half. So by cutting it right down the center from the top to the bottom, so it looks like that. Because mine are so variable in size, I'm going to be doing that with the larger ones and keeping little bitty ones whole, intact. Now I have all of my Brussels sprouts ready to go. The larger ones I have cut in half, and I have all of the bottoms trimmed. They're ready to get coated in some oil. I'm going to add them to this mixing bowl. You could also do this step directly on your baking sheet. If you're doing about 2 cups of Brussels sprouts, you're going to want to add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil. So I have here some olive oil. I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. You want them to be evenly coated. Next, you're also going to add about a half teaspoon of salt. Just going to shake my salt in here. And you're going to want to add about a quarter teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. If you want to add some other things to this recipe, this is a step where you could also add some whole garlic cloves or a little bit of acid like some lemon. I'm just using my hands and evenly mixing this together to coat each Brussels sprout with the oil, salt, and pepper. And then I'm going to evenly lay them out onto my baking sheet. The ones that I cut in half, I'm going to lay with the cut side down so that the leafy end gets nice and crispy in the oven. I'm just going to spread them out evenly. So these are going to go into the oven and bake at 400 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes until the outside gets kind of a golden caramel brown. Make sure to stir them at least once in between that time. So I'm going to pop these into my oven and we'll check back when they're done. So I just pulled my Brussels sprouts out from the oven. They were in there for about 30 minutes. As you can see, they've formed kind of a golden brown caramelized color and they're nice and tender to the touch. I'm going to put them back into the bowl that I used to mix them with olive oil in the first place. I'm going to sprinkle them with a little bit more salt, and I'm going to drizzle on just a touch of balsamic vinegar. At this point, you could also add some fresh lemon juice, or you could even sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese. Mine are just about ready to eat, so I'm going to enjoy these. Thank you for tuning in, and enjoy your Brussels sprouts.